everyone, welcome back to our channel. So in this video you guys are going to see what we did as far as the new framing for the walls. So we are so happy that this worked out. We definitely wasn't 100% sure that this would work. However, this is a learning experience for us. So this is what happens all the time. We kind of try things out. If it doesn't work, we do something different. So luckily this did work out. So everything looks great, but we are going to share with you what we had to do. Okay, so the first thing we did was put a vapor barrier for the new walls. We did think about at first maybe trying to sister the new boards to the old boards, as far as the joists and then the studs. That was an option. However, because the old studs were so bad from all of the termite damage and it just being old, we definitely thought that that wouldn't be a very good idea, and actually it wouldn't be as sturdy as just creating a whole new wall. So now you're probably thinking, like I thought, does that really make sense to do? And are we going to take actually the old studs out? We decided to keep them on, just like the floors. When we did the floors, how we just kept the old ones because they were actually holding up the trailer. This goes for that as well. So we couldn't take the old studs out because literally this is what was holding up the frame of the trailer. So we thought it best if we just created a whole new frame and then put it on top of the old frame and then nail them together. So that was the best option and the best step that we thought would work out. And to be honest, okay, I think it will, but only time will tell. Just to let you guys know, and that's full disclosure, we don't know 100% if this is going to be something that's going to last for a long time, but we are in the hopes that this was the best decision to do. So what we did was we built the frame on the floor. That was a lot easier to do than trying to build the frame standing up. So I do recommend that if that's what you guys are going to do. So we built it on the floor, and I have to say that this was the first wall that we built, and it did take us a lot of time, and that was due to trying to frame around the windows. So this is the front of the house. So it just took us a little longer than expected, based on trying to frame out those windows. Actually, one of the walls, and I'll show you that a little bit later in the video, where it was a lot easier to build the frame because we didn't have to think about building around the windows. So anytime you build around the windows, you're basically putting more studs in and building the framework around the windows. You do want to make sure that you have a good sturdy frame around the windows, because they will be open, and you definitely want to make sure that they are going to be nice and sturdy. Yeah, so once we lifted up the frame, then the next steps was to actually make sure that it hit against the old frame. So you want to make sure it's nice and tight, and you could see the vapor barrier that we put up, and we learned this from actually watching this section of the video here, how it was like starting to crunch up at the bottom there. So actually moving on, when we started to do the other sides of the walls, we did learn that it was actually better to actually tape the vapor barrier to the floor and then try to slide the frame in, so that you don't have all that crunching up and bundling up there at the bottom. So you can see here he's like nailing, you know, the new frame there to the floor. He nailed it to the ceiling. Yeah, it looks good. So this is what we did for the front of the house. Okay, so this was maybe a few days later, and we started to do the right side of the room. So not to bore you guys too much about what we did, but we basically did the same thing with the vapor barrier and then framing out the walls before actually putting it up. So I'll leave you guys with that, and then I'll actually jump in a little bit later to tell you other things that we did. Okay, so this is a good point for me to jump in here. So in this frame here, you're actually seeing him create a header for the window. This is the right side of the window. So he said that when you do a framing around the window, you do want a strong header for support because it's an opening. So he didn't do that for the front of the trailer, as you saw in the previous frame, because he said that we actually didn't need it for the front, but however he did feel like we needed it for the side windows, so that's what we did. And in this frame here, we're just continuing the frame for the walls where the AC unit is, and then there's another actually kitchen window that was near the AC. And that is where the header went that you saw him building there. Okay, so we got this frame up, and you know, just the same way we built it on the floor, and then we're pushing it up. I have to say this was definitely a very tight fit. There was no room for error with this frame because the measurements he did around the AC and the window was, you know, nearly perfect. So there was no room for error. So this was definitely a tight fit, but we got this in, you know, and it looks good. And actually in another video I'll show you what we did for our new door. You can kind of see that a little bit there on the left side. We did put a new door in. It looks so good, and we actually did a framing on the outside for the new door. And then for the AC unit, it looks really good. We put a new bracket in that looks smaller, cleaner. You know, it just looks a lot better than that whole wood frame that we had outside for that huge AC unit. But I'll definitely show you guys that in another video. as you could see, I was not lying about that tight fit around the AC unit. We got it in, but it was definitely a tight fit. And we actually noticed as well that at the bottom, because we were trying to figure out why this frame wasn't going in, we thought it was because it was so tight where the AC was, but it actually wasn't. There were actually a couple of pieces of wood that we had cut off that was stuck between the vapor and the frame. So that took some investigating, because we were trying to hammer this in and we couldn't figure out why it wasn't going in. But that was the reason for all our problems that day, because we, unfortunately didn't look at what was going on underneath the vapor before we tried to put this frame in. So it was just a couple pieces of wood that I started to feel around the vapor, and I was like, wait a minute, there's pieces of wood here that's stuck between the vapor and the frame. So luckily I just kind of cut the vapor a little bit and then just grabbed those couple pieces of wood chips in there. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Okay, so just to talk to you guys a little bit about what we did on the left side of the room here. There are 3 big windows on the left side, and we decided not to have any windows on the left side of the wall, which we both agreed on. However, the issue was, what do we do with it? Do we take it out and then put the new metal siding outside? What do we do? Because that would end up looking really ugly, because it just wouldn't look in sync with the other metal that was already outside of the house. So and I have to let you guys know, I was really apprehensive about doing this, but my husband kind of reassured me that it will actually work out, and not to worry too much. It is temporary. So what we decided to do was to actually keep the windows in there, but we were going to put a vapor barrier in between, just like you see here, and we're going to put the new frame on, as you see here, and we're going to drywall it. And then the outside, you would still see the windows, the 3 windows there on the left. I was worried about, the whole insulation and moisture and vapor and all that stuff, and he assured me that it wouldn't be an issue. So my fingers are crossed. I don't know if that's going to work in the long run, but we will see. I'm not saying I recommend anyone doing that. It's just something that we're going to do temporarily, because we do plan on putting new windows and new siding on the outside, but that is a year or so down the road. But this is where we're at right now. I will show you guys later. Like I said in another video, with what we did with the door, outside AC unit, and more stuff to come. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys next time.